ncas.in. Thank you.
Very good afternoon. So we are here for the second session on panel discussion. Our moderator will be Professor Datuk Dr. Denison Jayasuriya, Head of Secretariat, APP-GM SDG. The panel discussion will be on Doha Social Development Declaration and its implication for SDG acceleration. We have the panel members, Dr. Dhanaraj Murundi, Lecturer, School of Communication, University Science Malaysia, Mr. Arunagiri Subramaniam, Local Coordinator, Malaysia, Mr. Panir Selvam Jayaraman, Director Policy Solutions, Ms. Saja from APP-GM, SDG. Over to Professor Datuk.
Hello. எல்லாருக்கும் வணக்கம். ஒன்னும் கேட்கல. எல்லாருக்கும் வணக்கம். Okay. The topic I'm taking is Doha Social Development Declaration and its implications for SDGs. Doha is a place in Qatar and they had a conference on social development. And SDGs is Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. Now, the global policy development, that means global level, they influence government policies on how development must be organized, and this can trace through global conferences and summits hosted by the United Nations. So there was Copenhagen in 1995 on social development. Those of us who were researching before will know Millennium Development Goals up to 2015. Then there was the Rio Plus 20 Summit in Brazil in 2012. And then now the SDGs that the United Nations agreed is from 2015 to 2030. So last year, global leaders met in Doha to re-look at social development. Now this photo, I looked a bit younger and slimmer. This was in 2012 in Rio. Now, Copenhagen Declaration, நீங்க Google பண்ணி you can get the document, made 10 commitments that government. So like we had a conference like this, every country was represented and they made a global commitment. Every country, that means Prime Minister or the Minister or a Director General of the country, made a commitment which they signed in 1995, and that's the document. There are many 10 points, but of the 10 points I took a few. To foster social justice, solidarity, harmony and equity. Social justice, that means everyone will have a chance. Solidarity, you all said cohesion, harmony, equity, equality. To place people at the center of development. Not money, not investment, not politics, but people. To eradicate poverty. This in 1995, they took a global, so that means there should be no poor among us. And to achieve full employment. இன்னைக்கு காலையில பேசும் பொழுது இப்போ 100 days employment package வச்சுக்குதா, lot of the women are struggling with very low wages. And to foster social integration. Integration across ethnicity, across religion, across caste, across class, and things of this sort. So this is a commitment. Commitment, it's an aspiration by political leaders at the global summit. Now, the United Nations have been having SDG meetings. I've been going many years, and in 2023, I addressed on role of civil society. Yeah? So 2030 agenda, key document with 17 goals. அதெல்லாம் list பண்ணியிருக்கோம் 1 to 17. The theme is leave no one behind. So the villages that we went yesterday, and you all summarized, are they left behind? Yes or no? என்னங்க? Yes or no? Yes or no? Okay. So the UN has a high-level political forum and the voluntary national review. But the Secretary General's report in 2025 said only 35% of SDG targets are on track. Out of 100, only 35. And nearly half are moving too slowly. 18 are reversed. That means in 2015 it was better, now it's reversed. And so the United Nations Secretary General declared global development emergency. Emergency na police security, ambulance, all will stop everything. So globally they are saying there is an emergency on development, as there is only 5 years left to reach. That means if you were given a chance, within the next 5 years, can you solve all the problems the people told you or not? How much will it cost? What kind of resources you need to address them? That's the key concern. Huh? Now, the social development focus in Doha addresses 3 key points. Actually, this is one is from Pakistan, one is from Sri Lanka, and one is from Malaysia. We all met at Doha. We took that group photo. They are NGO leaders, Ujita, I forgot our Pakistan, from ADA. 3 main concerns: poverty and inequality. This is the main issue. Who is poor? How do you define poverty? How do you define inequality? Inequality of opportunities. Unemployment and decent work. Social inclusion and exclusion. People feel they are left out, excluded. Excluded from even going to a temple. They cannot enter this temple or that. So it's exclusion. Women or people. So the Doha Summit addresses these 3 key points under social development. Now, from the Doha Declaration as a whole, it's a long document. You can Google it, Doha Declaration, Ministerial Declaration, which all the governments, 195 countries agreed to the one in Doha in the November period. 5 points I took from the document. அதிகமான கருத்துக்கள் இருக்குது, நான் 5 தான் எடுத்தேன். Also time limit for me and the panel here, because they're going to respond to the Doha Declaration, and we only got up to 135. ஏன்னா ரொம்ப பேருக்கு பசிக்கும், then you are left behind with food. Multidimensional poverty is a key theme. That multidimensional poverty, for the first time, dimensions of poverty are in the SDG document, but the word multidimensional poverty as an instrument of measurement was not mentioned before, although the Oxford group established this and developed it. And in that para, we will adopt a holistic approach towards the eradication of poverty in all its forms and dimension, including through addressing challenges of extreme poverty and multidimensional poverty. So multi-dimensional, not just one dimension, but many dimensions. So I make reference to the Oxford group. I think this is a photo from Sabah, Sarawak. And this is from our research finding. This is a house in Malaysia. Believe it or not, இந்த மாதிரி வீடு கூட நாங்க வச்சிருக்கோம். இந்த மாதிரி வீடு நாங்கள கற்பையா இந்த மாதிரி வீடு இல்லல்ல. Okay. The poor have this house. The focus of the measurement is on deprivation profile for each of the household person in its undertaking, covering 10 indicators and a number of dimensions like health, education, standard of living, income. You know, just now you were describing, they then use it as a measurement with the indicators and then tabulate deprivation experience in the country. You can Google Oxford study on multidimensional poverty. You will get it. Global report Oxford team did. Now, the second thing that the Doha document mentions for the first time is social solidarity economy. Economy is capitalist economy where you want to make profits, maximization of profit. The alternate is social economy or solidarity economy, which is a model using cooperatives, social enterprise, social business, Professor Yuno's work, and other works that have come out. So the UN has a task force on social solidarity economy in the eradication of poverty and promoting social inclusion, catalyst for social. So the role of cooperatives, social enterprises gets renewed. So like the women, Tamil Nadu is famous for its Suya Valarchi Kulu. So Pengal, they can open bank account, they can do Sevupu, savings, mobilization, so that there is some saving and not dependent on debt. So this is a key empowerment strategy. Role to generate decent work, foster eco-democracy, strengthen local economy to ensure. So how do you do that without over-dependence on government, but to get them to do something? Now, in the Doha so we had number 2 is SSE, number 3 is social justice and human rights. Consistent in the UN documentation in social work, in SDG, is a commitment to social justice. It's not charity. It's not just annadhanam or just giving food or feeding the poor, which creates dependency, but social justice and human rights, emphasis on the theme of human rights and non-discrimination. So that's where the targeting of women empowerment is central. We reaffirm our collective commitment to promoting social integration, sustainable, inclusive, just, stable, safe, equitable economy and society based on human dignity, promotion and protection of human rights, principle of non-discrimination, equal opportunity. So from most of the groups we found, caste-based discrimination seems to be quite high. In other societies, it will be class-based. So it's almost the same, economic, work-related. So, நீங்க பட்டதாரி, doctor, அப்படின்னா they look at you higher. ஒன்றும் இல்லைன்னா மட்டமாக பார்க்குறாங்க. So this is a major concern in the world, and social justice is a theme, number 4. Number 5, the right to food. So this is an important theme that people with their land should be encouraged to plant nutritious food, not only for themselves, but they can also sell it. And it can be community-based, and this is highlighted in the right to food. And rural communities, forest-based communities can look and address malnutrition, stunted growth, community farms, people involvement in this context, community supported agriculture and all. That's number 4. Number 5, for the first time, UN started to use religious and spiritual values, cultural values. Previously, it seemed to be secular document. No God, no spirituality. It's all strategies. It's right action. But now they are beginning to see the spirit of the human person. It can be any religious belief or tradition that is of importance. So they're committed to political, economic, ethical, spiritual vision for social development. Spiritual vision. So there is this talk. A lot of people are very religious. In Malaysia, I think India, they don't do it. Thaipusam, do they break coconuts here also? They do. Malaysia, every coconut that is broken, one lorry is collecting and throwing it. So, at one time, Hindu Sangam in Malaysia said, why do you want to break coconut? Give some food to the poor or go and help in community economy or something. But people continue to do practices that have central to religion. By this, I'm not Periyar talking. So no Periyar talk here. This is the saying that religion has an important motivation. Because Periyar didn't believe in God. But whereas the UN document now is saying these values come from culture and religion. It could be Islam, it could be Buddhism, it could be Hinduism, it could be. And they have used the term called faith-based organization. Religiously motivated, but they are doing for all people. This is my final point, and then I will ask them each a question. After that, you can ask them questions. Okay, first, for social development and in defining the issues, we have to see it is multidimensional. It's not one analysis that keeps people poor or keeps them disadvantaged. You need to address many things at the same time in order to change the situation for people. Even our own lives would be like that. That's first. Second, we need to shift away from handout charity models towards self-help, self-reliance, resilience through social economy and solidarity economy. Third, we need focus on social justice and human rights. India has one of the best constitutions in the world. You had a top person called Ambedkar who helped write it, and he has defined it in that way. And he fought against caste and things of that sort. A lot of documentation of his differences with Mahatma Gandhi and all that, which is well documented now in academic work. Fourth, the right to food production. Finally, spirituality and religious belief as a motivation for transformation or mobilizing the people for action. So these are some of my thoughts. Time's up? Okay, 2 more minutes. Okay, I got 2 more minutes. So what I'm trying to say is, there is a lot of literature, principles, goals, ideas. Even if you take the work of Amartya Sen, even if you take the social work literature, you can be psychology-based, you can be sociology-based. But at the end of the day, we want to see improvement. We want to see change. We want to see empowerment of the grassroots community. And this is why the visit yesterday and the discussion today is important. So how can we make the Doha Declaration a framework for social development as an agenda for social workers, social actors, even political actors to to take it on. So that's the end of my presentation. You can put to some picture. We can leave it this picture and then see. Seringala, if you have any questions, please think about the question and we can discuss together. Now, we have 4 gentlemen and 1 lady who is with me. They all work closely with me and they are going to interact. Actually, they are supposed வேற paper present பண்றதுக்கு ரெடியா வந்தாங்க. 5 minutes கொடுக்கறேன்னு சொன்னோன்னே they jumped on with me. So the first person I'm going to ask is Dr. Tana. Dr. Tana, we are looking at, I can move backwards, multidimensional poverty. Your paper highlights on academic role and mapping and other things, but you did a lot of multidimensional poverty research on the ground. What is the relevance of Doha Declaration and this emphasis to social work and practice?
Okay, thank you very much, Prof. and ladies and gentlemen. So, as Prof. have stated earlier, from the Doha Declaration on multidimensional poverty, so we want to look more than dimensions. So we don't want to just focus on one matter. So now when people are saying poor, we just look he don't or she don't have money. But here in multidimensional poverty index, we want to look beyond income or monetary value, so that what kind of other factors can the people or the villagers can be deprived. For example, if someone have a very good wealth, but he's living very far from health facilities, so he can't reach to the health facilities, so he is deprived in terms of the health facilities. So although one of the factor is money, but we want to look at various factor. So we want to look in terms of education, we want to look in terms of housing, even nutrition is very important, sanitation. Just now we are listening in those 4 villages, sanitation was the major issue, and also access to clean water, employment and social protection. So this is all the dimensions we want to focus, not only in terms of income. So money is important, but other dimensions also important as well. So from the significance of the Doha Declaration in terms of MPI, there is a few things that I wish to highlight. First is the shift should be beyond of income, as I mentioned earlier. So we just don't want to say always low income is the matter, but we want to see the lack of capabilities and access to the most essential things. And second, if through MPI, we can have a very good policy-based evidence or evidence-based policy, so that the government can improve in terms of what they are lacking for the benefits of the people. Second, maybe another one I can share is it encourage cross-border collaboration, where it can eventually recognize some of the interconnected issues can be solved together if we have a more focus on this dimension-based study in the ground. Thank you.
Thank you, Tana. I think you have brought it out clearly. Tana's abstract is on page 51. வேற தலைப்புல எழுதியிருக்காரு, but he has, because of his research background on MPI and the work among I'd like to move to Giri now, Mr. Aruna Giri. He has been working with a tribal community in Malaysia. So here we visited one of the tribal communities, we saw their housing and so forth. And Giri, how does MPI help us understand the poverty and the situation? They call it Orang Asli, or the first people, original people of the land in the Malaysian context. Over to you.
Thank you, Dato, and other participants. Okay. When we take indigenous issues, it's not only in Malaysia, in global, the issues are similar. The poverty is there, and social exclusion is very big among the common people and these people. And also, as Dato said, like economical status, social status, and their living condition also was disturbed because of the modernization and everything. The basic principles we can see everywhere. And also another part is their governance and their cultural values are getting faded because of the modernization. And when I look at the Kampung Orang Asli, means the village of indigenous in Malaysia. I've worked for the empowerment on economical part. When I enter the village, I've seen that they have a in Malaysia, in state of Selangor, they have a very good development of housing scheme. They have a good house, they have a very good road network, and they have a lot of support mechanism from the government. But their social economic background is very backward. They have a very big disparity in terms of their income, their health care, their education. The dropout rate is like similar, just now I've seen the presentation. The dropout rate is very high. Even though the government is focused in one single area, their infrastructure. And also I've seen that, as Dr. Tana said and Prof said, the social integration, even government have built the route to connect to the major society in Malaysia, and the urbanization make the major society more closer to these people, but there's a lack of the empowerment on the capacity building, where they cannot independently survive within the community, whereby they are in Malaysia they have a lot of support mechanism for the indigenous, where they have a monthly income, they have a proper the department will pay for the electricity bill, water bill, and most of the things is given. They became independent. Even sometimes we do some empowerment for the local people. They need a continuous support. Maybe they need a long-term, 10 years, 5 years, because the dependency was created without a proper capacity buildings. This was the major challenge which we faced. And another part is where this community is excluded from the major society, where the major society doesn't want to accept them. It's called social exclusion. They feel this society is dirty, unlearned, they are not educated, they are not civilized people. Even they doesn't want to share a car or something to travel together. That's a mindset of the major community. And what I feel strongly is the capacity building is major important. Number two is changing the mindset of the major society surrounding the people. Must have the acceptance and understanding of their social, cultural. And another part which I strongly seen in the indigenous people is the urbanization. In the name of urbanization, the loss of the spiritual aspect, where they lost their forest. The community I work is Temuan. Their social and their spiritual value is within the hill area. So they lost that part. And also I've seen the people Murray. Murray is living like Pulau Kari somewhere there. And their belief system is depend on the sea. So the sea now get polluted, and these people is unable to do their spiritual part over there. So these are major things we can identify, and I can see to the people where the social inclusion, the economical empowerment, and also majorly the capacity building is very vital for this society. Thank you, Dato.
Thank you, Giri. All keeping within 5 minutes. Afterwards. No, afterwards. I'll open up. Giri has his abstract is on page 76 of the abstract book, writing on 6 Orang Asli villages and interacting with health, education, work, and inequality. I'll open up to Q&A after the 4 presentations. So write down your questions or thoughts. I think, Giri, you already stirred up. Good question coming up. Be ready for the answers. Now, let me move on to the next one. I'm asking Panir to make a comment. I know Panir's presentation abstract is on page 68 on grassroots to parliament. But here we are asking him, because of his experience in SSE and so forth, what do you see is the relevance of the Doha Declaration, SSE, and also the villages you visited so far here? Over to you.
Thank you, Doctor. Good morning. Good afternoon, everyone. So in terms of this SSE concepts, I think it's kind of new to many here. But this concept actually, if you can familiarize it, is actually similar to our Suya Udevi Kulu self-help group, as well as the cooperative movement. But SSE gives you a framework, the whole framework of collective economy development for the people. Which means in the world that focuses on capitalist economy, we are actually focusing on how we collectively develop economic status of the people. So while we focus on social development, I think in the villages that we visited, all the villages I visited too, we actually seeing that economical disparity is actually very glaring. They're only dependent on the 100 days wage and so on. So without that 100 days wage, they are actually powerless in terms of economy. So SSE gives us a whole framework how we can develop a collective economy among the community with the involvement of the people, actually participatory approach. So I just want to bring out 4 points here, Doctor. Number one is actually we need in our work, in our development work, we need to integrate 3 big frameworks. Okay, SDG, social work, as well as the SSE. These 3 will give you a wholesome socio-economic development kind of a model where you also focus on social, in terms of social work. You also have a national framework, international framework, SDG, as well as the collective economic framework, SSE. And SSE brings out a very good focus on recognition towards informal economy. While the national economic policies are focusing on formal economy, SSE focuses also on recognizing the informal economy. Like in our village, we actually met with Katama, who runs a shop. In our Aikabatu village, Lavanya runs a shop in a house, actually. So these are informal economy that we need to recognize as form of resources for the communities, and SSE does that. Apart from that, SSE also looking into feminist-powered economy, where women play the major role in a man-dominated world. So if you bring in women, what we all believe in the development realm is actually when you develop women into all these development works, it also brings out family well-being into the concepts. You compare to man, that doesn't take place actually. Men all are self-centric, mostly, not all, mostly self-centric and all. But women always brings in family together. We have we have Nazareth Center down here. If you can have time, go and visit. They do have a children playground as well, together with the development center. So when we develop women into economy, we also have to look into the family well-being, and SSE with feminist-powered economy brings out that concept very well. So I think in terms of overall SSE work, if you can read further, is a kind of a collective economical movement. And in India itself, in Tamil Nadu itself, apart from the Suya Udevi Kulu at the micro level, we also have a concept, a model, a successful model by ASEFA actually. Association for Sarvodesa Seva Farms. They have a model where they actually bring out Suya Udebi Kulus into a collective group. And today they have, if I'm not mistaken, nearly 8,000 women coming together and running $1 million business in Tamil Nadu actually. We visited last year. They were operated from Madurai. They do have a lot of branches everywhere. So these are the things that SSE can bring out in terms of this social development. And as I said, integration of SDG, social work, and SSE framework will bring out a wonderful, wholesome, holistic development model, similar to what Doha has actually discussed. Actually, that's all.
Thank you. Thank you, Panir. Panir has clearly highlighted the potential of, although informal, but the potential of creating wealth in the community and empowerment of women. You know, the photo in front there is, actually it's a ILO-sponsored discussion at Doha, because ILO takes up the theme of decent work, and the whole SSE project is being promoted by ILO. Now, for those of us doing economics or business study, you know that the business model is a balance between investment through capital and the cost of labor. And most businesses give priority to capital, how to accumulate more capital, maximization of profit, where labor is exploited. Labor is paid low, not fair wages, or the environment is exploited. So in SSE and in social economy model, they are calling for a much stronger balance in the development, and the governments are to regulate it and to ensure the environment is kept for the future generation, and also labor is protected from exploitation. Now the fourth panel, speaker in the panel before we open to Q&A is Mrs. Shaza. Shaza's paper in the discussion abstract is on page 50 about urban development planning and the use of public space and use of idle land. But I asked a new question, so it's actually to look at, let me to try and change, to bring this theme of spiritual vision, religious and ethical values. What is the place of this in social work and community transformation? Over to you, Shaza.
Thank you, Dr. Denison, for the question. So this is a very interesting question for me, how to relate it about the spiritual and also on the social development. So I attracted with your presentation just now about the aspects that we need to focus, which is one of it is social inclusion and social exclusion. So this social exclusion and inclusion is very related to this topic, which is spiritual, vision, religious, and ethical values, on how we include community who are excluded. So in this, actually, Doha Declaration elevates the faith to see on how we can encourage more such multi-stakeholder engagement in our planning or in our social developments, so that we will have a more comprehensive, more inclusive decision. And then the potential parties that we can see, if we see under this faith, is faith-based organization. Either we can see, for example, in Malaysia, we have Zakat Institution, which is one of the example of a faith-based organization that very helpful in the social developments. So I would like to relate also this topic into the urban planning about space. Because in urban planning, we are more looking into the physical space, on how we look this space as a third place for the social developments. So it's not just as a commercial space, it's not just for education space, but we multi-use this space as to to develop a social community enhancement and their skill development and so on. So actually, in urban planning, we have a special method to see this about the faith, which is we call the method as a cultural mapping. In cultural mapping, is a little bit different in what we did mapping yesterday. The cultural mapping in urban planning, actually, we try to understand very deeply on how the community live, on what is the religion, what is their culture, in terms of physical way. We will map it one by one in the map. So, and also we try to understand what is the best development to do to sing their culture value and the development related to them. So the development is more towards community-based background. So it's not just like we can do the whole, all of over the place the same. Sometimes we don't need the same hall at a certain place. Maybe at a place just need a small hall, but a very facility and so on. But some place we need a very big hall that with their unique culture and so on. So actually the cultural mapping is very important, but sadly, this method of cultural mapping is not being implemented so much on the ground as just now. This method is not very popularized to be used as one of the part of the social developments there. And then one of the things that I can share is the best practice from FPPGM SDG itself, where we have the interagency dialogue. This interagency dialogue, we have to discuss the welfare issues. So usually we actually in 2023, from my experience, when we have a welfare issue, we just call welfare departments. But now, since last year and this year, we try also to call the Zakat institution or Islamic Council to discuss on the problem of the welfare issues. So it's one of the good things that we can see on how we move from the government's part, but we also try to include the faith-based organization. So that's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Shaza. That means what we are looking at is an appreciation of diversity of religion, cultures, and to see the richness of each tradition and not to think ours is more superior than the other as a social worker or sociology or social science based. Okay, I'm going to open up to Q&A. Is there a mic that can go to them? Somebody can handle a mic? Okay, sir. First to you. Short question, not another talk. Just a question. I'll take 3 questions, please. Short answers, okay.
Hello. Salamat tengah hari semua orang dari Malaysia. Saya dapat satu question untuk hari Giri sir. Giri. Mr. Giri, I have a straightforward question to you. We know that orang asli in Malaysia, they are the Bumiputras, so-called. And as a researcher, what exactly you have taken forward to the ministry or to your department for enhancing their skills? Because I know that they are lacking skills in technology, for example. Technology, per se, with respect to communication skills in English. So what exactly, during your research with Orang Asli people, you have taken forward to the ministry, Kementerian Pendidikan, or maybe the other people in Malaysia? Sama-sama. Sama-sama.
Ima. Immaculate Ima, first of all. My question is, yes, we set goals like Millennium Development Goals now, SDG, Sustainable Development Goals. So there may be a trend, we were talking about the multidimensional poverty. So I'm sure like you've been observing between these two periods, is the trend is rising or decreasing in terms of poverty. And there's also increasing concern about inequality widening. How do we address those issues? Is there any best practice, any models existing in Malaysia? How do you balance this? It's an open question, and especially to the gentleman who spoke about multidimensional poverty.
Thank you very much. One more? Yes, to you.
Can I have the mic, please? So good afternoon, panel. It was an esteemed panel. It was a great presentation. Myself, Vikesh. I have two questions to ask to the panel. One is regarding the money. Do we need money, right? We all need money for the implementation of the plan and schemes. Presently, global communities evading the money. For example, the global politics, the top 5 emitters, including USA, China, Russia, India as well, and European Union, they are walking back on their commitments. There are no one responsible authority to question the climate change. And the second question will be on the cultural mapping. As we all know that the country called Tuvalu, you may visit Tuvalu, it's near to Australia, it's an island country. I think with the end of the century, you may not find Tuvalu from the map because to the sea level rise. And they losing their habitat, they lost their culture, they lost their tradition, and people has to move to next country. They can be a refugee. So what are the measures that should be global responsible countries has to be taking for the in terms of Tuvalu, the issue of Tuvalu? So please try to answer the questions.
Thank you. Anyone else with a question? Yes.
Check. Thank you so much for the presentation, sir. It's a common question. Over the past 2 days, we've been talking about poverty. So my question is, according to you and your expertise, how do you define poverty? And what are the similarities or comparisons of poverty have you seen in India and Malaysia? This would be my question. Thank you.
Okay, one more. Passing on to any lady who would like to raise a question. We have a number of questions. Anyone? Going on? Okay. Yamita, Yamita.
Very good afternoon. So, as I went to the presentation. So, you have maybe addressed the poverty as well as the literacy problem. But what might be the cause for this? Because we have, in a democratic country, we have the equal rights to have education for beyond the gender bias. So what is the major hindrance which you feel that why it is not reaching the places where it has to be?
Thank you very much. Okay, we've got then 6 questions. Can I start with Giri? Direct question to you, Giri.
Okay, thank you, Prof. You asked about the what shall I recommend to the government, to the power of social health. But for me, I can say that capacity building is very important rather than providing everything to the society. So in fact, like Malaysia, they give a lot of social support from the government. They give a lot of schemes, housing schemes, water bill free, and also if they want to buy something as monthly provision for them. And there is free state. There's no improvement for them to independently survive in the growing and modernization state. They cannot compete with the other community. So for me, it's a capacity building is a very high priority to the things, okay? And also, and cultural mapping and preservation, I've heard, but I think later the other panel also can comment, which I can see. when I don't know what is the right mechanism, but the modernization is decaying their cultural and also the spiritual values, where even the Malaysian government established a lot of museums beside the village and everything to indicate their originality and everything. But the local people themselves itself lost interest to preserve that museum. They doesn't want to pay very minimum fees to visit, doesn't want to get back the issues. This because of the local leaders who hold the power and conduct most of the cultural and communicate about the issues of cultural lost his capacity as a leader. That's one of the factor where they lost most of the things. And I think I answered the one, and I'm tell about the issues on cultural preservation in Malaysia. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think for the recommendations to Ministry of Education or to government, we have done many reports that have been submitted. Our policy parliamentary reports on poverty, and Giri works closely with the Department of Indigenous People and Development. Many of it are in stages of development, and we are seeing how best to address it to forest-based communities. They are still living in the forest, some are coming out, and the challenges there. Okay, Dr. Tana, yours on MDG, SDG, poverty, inequality.
Okay, thank you for your questions. Regarding on the Millennial Development Goals, and then now currently we are on SDGs, there will be inequality, even though after 2030, if we have a new name of SDG, there will be inequality, I guess. But what we are trying to achieve is how we going to lower the gap time by time, or by phases. Even in Malaysia, why we are saying in the MPI, the multi-dimensional poverty index is important. Even in Malaysia, we have some division in terms of the incomes group. Most of the Malaysians, we call it as a B40 groups, who are earning below 3,000 ringgit. And those who are earning from 3,000 to 5,000, we call it them as a M40. And also for those who are earning more than 7,000 and etc., sometimes we call them as a T20. But most of the time, the Malaysian government is focused their policies on the B40s group. So many of the provincials or many of the choices were given to this B40. But after we done this multi-dimensional poverty study using various dimensions, factors, we found the M40 also facing a severe deprivations in many, although they are earning well, but in terms of other dimension, they were lack. So that's why we are saying, why group them by using on wages that you are earning, which can't help the government to for the government to provide one holistic solution. So for how many times or how many days the government should subsidize for these people? That's for we are saying this. This MPI clearly shows so how government should help with their targeted groups without focusing on the classes. So everyone who are deprived in terms of housing, for example, they should able to get a proper house. So those who are left behind in education without taking care of their class, all of them should able to get the proper education. So that's why we are saying this MPI, although currently under Oxford University, there is major studies, and even under APPGM, currently we have already done more than 2,000 household respondents, and we are receiving a various dimension deprivation through our study. Then,
Thank you.
okay, thank you.
Sorry about that. Panir, if you can take the question 3 and 4, climate change, cultural mapping.
Yeah. Just also add on to Dr.
disappearing.
Tana's one, because ma'am was asking for the model from Malaysia. We do have a paper that solution for all this inequality problem is mainly if we can able to empower the grassroots community, then we can actually able to address a lot of issues. And while empowering the grassroots community, there are 3 key stakeholders in the process actually. The community themselves and also the community leaders. And apart from these 2 people, these 2 stakeholders, they are also ecosystem enablers. So similar like here, I'm saying Nazareth as an ecosystem enabler for the community development. So these are the key people that we need to develop, and there are some models we have developed. I have a paper on that. My full paper covers on this part. Okay, I'm jumping on to this global economic shift on social development. Yes, of course, all the country has lost the development money. US aid disconnection has become a big issue. So many people lost their job. Okay, now in terms of the solution, yeah, what I'm seeing in the global perspective is really, can we shift to the sexy terms they like environmental funding, sustainability funding, ESG, and so on. I think now our social work has to be aligned with all these terms, jargon terms. So when we do our program, we need to incorporate corporates, so private-public partnership. We have to incorporate the listed companies. The listed companies has a compulsory mandate to fund initiatives. So we need to actually go into all these realms. Okay? And then our development work must also have impact evaluation mechanisms. Okay, while we do a lot of social work, a lot of development work, we actually tend to have our own assumptions of the impact. Now we have to use standard mechanisms, standard frameworks to actually achieve this, and then go into ESG funding and so on. So our work now have to shift from general social work, general development work, into this development funding such as environmental, ESG funding, and also the listed company funding and all. And I think cultural part, Puan Saza and Giri has covered a lot on the thing. But I believe if we can bring inclusion into policy making, that's where the solution lies actually. Social development is always about economy, everything of economy. Social is only covered on the level of education and so on. But in policy making, let's say we can bring in kind of a zakat funding, okay, what Saza is mentioning, but we can bring it to all, inclusive development funding into policy and so on. That's where we can achieve what you said. We can help, like for Malaysia especially, even our policy doesn't recognize refugees actually. So we are now in the midst of having white papers for cabinet to actually get refugees recognized as a people living in Malaysia, so that they can have their basic protection rights and so on. So these are the works that we need to do, which means cultural understanding should be in policy making. I think that's all from my side.
Thank you very much. Now I'll ask Shazad to comment on poverty, the comparison on findings from Malaysia. Shazad has done a lot of mapping on poverty on the ground, and also your recent exposure to the village that we went to. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Dato. So also thank you to all the questions. So I will answer about the poverty comparison. That actually the poverty we can see, actually we cannot only look at their level of life on the wages, on the salaries only, but we also to see about how they live, on how the whole lifestyle they live. Either the accessibility towards the facilities is enough or not, is it very good enough, there is a maintenance or not, or their health conditions and so on. So there are so many aspects in the poverty that we need to look into. So what I can see the comparison with Malaysia and also in India is almost the same by the aspects, either by facilities, either by the healthcare or other facilities, and their level of life also. But what the difference is on how the approach in these 2 countries try to solve this issue, how the government very particular on that issue, on how their the approach being used here. As for example, in Malaysia, we have, like I said, it's not just we go to the welfare departments, but we also have a zakat institutions that we can ask for to help in the social development for those who has faced the poverty. And what I can see in Malaysia, hello? Okay. So even in Malaysia, even the schools, the government school also have a different states, because the government schools by Malay school is very basic, but when you go to the Chinese school, it's very advanced because they have a faith of the education is very important. So it depends on the approach of the community here on how we want to solve the issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Shazda. I see Dr. Mary standing up and down. So we will wind this up. I think there was a final question just now, and I'll try to attempt it, on constitution and constitutional protection. Now, Ambedkar's constitution, to which Malaysia adapted from the Indian constitution, our own constitution. So the constitution provides certain legal guarantees, but that's legal though. So everyday reality can be different. And so constitutional literacy is also quite weak. Not all of us own a constitution, or we read the constitution and defend it. Your constitution is strongest on tribal rights and so forth. But in practice, they feel they are the most disadvantaged people in India. But the reality, equality of opportunity. So when we say everybody can go to school, everything is equal and so forth, it's not the same. So children from a tribal community going to a local village school faces psychological and other trauma and all kinds of things that we might not understand. We found out in that village, they go only up to standard 5. They don't go into higher levels and so forth. So there are various others. So the SDG talks not only of equality of opportunity, but equality of outcomes. So why is it people are not getting promoted in the civil service, or why is women not there? Then it's outcome-based measurement. So then they would say, no, this person is not interested, they are not qualified and so forth. So that's where the equal opportunities law in England and other parts have actually transformed delivery of services. I think Panir's paper, unfortunately is not presenting it, brings that out seriously. So the Doha Declaration brings this theme out. And so from a declaration point of view and practice, we have tried our best to illustrate it. And because Dr. Mary is standing there, my trend of thought is affected as well. But I think what is important is there is so much of literature and academic work along this line, but what is missing is actually practice, best practices, success stories, social work intervention that is working, and that's the opportunity for you and me to set the things right. With that note, please give a hand to my panel, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate the moderator, Dr. Dennison, for a stimulating conversation on the Doha Declaration, and also engaging an insightful discussion among the panel members, Dr. Dhanraj, Mr. Arunagari, Mr. Panir Selvam, and Ms. Shaza from APB GM SDG. Thank you very much. Thank you, participants, for your active listening and relevant raising questions. Now, over to the dais.
We now break for lunch. After lunch, requesting you all to reassemble for paper and poster presentation directly in the third floor of this block. Room numbers are BT03, BT08, BT09 and BT10 at 2 p.m. sharp. Name list of the participants are displayed on the doors of each room. Kindly be seated in the allocated